today so that I can share about this opportunity that I hope you all might participate in. Last spring, I wrote a Thriving Congregations Lilly grant on behalf of the Presbytery. And in November, we heard that we are recipients of the grant, which is over $750,000 to be used over the course of 5 years. The Lilly Foundation, or Lilly Endowment, is funded from, if you've heard of Eli Lilly, the pharmaceutical company, it was founded by a Christian family, and so they have a very large endowment that they've set up, and they give away hundreds of millions of dollars a year, mostly to faith-based organizations like our own. And knowing that many congregations are struggling with decline, the Lilly Endowment is specifically interested in helping congregations to thrive in a post-pandemic, post-Christian culture. Our proposal explores how we can steward our property and buildings for community impact in a way that also aligns with our unique sense of mission. Many of our churches in the Presbytery are declining and have much smaller congregations than when we were at our peak in membership. Many of our buildings are aging and require significant repairs. Through this project, we're exploring how our buildings could be an asset to our neighborhoods and community, how we can use our buildings in ways that help our neighborhoods to flourish. The first cohort that will be participating in this grant will be made up of congregations with 50 or less members, and we're hoping that that will begin at the end of April. And your congregation fits the requirements because you have 50 or less members. Participating congregations will nominate a team of 3 to 6 people, and that team will be called the design team. That team will be made up of the pastor, 1 to 2 currently serving elders, and up to 3 others from the congregation. This team will attend the Presbytery-wide learning cohort gatherings with other congregations as a way to learn from one another. Additionally, this team will work through a 7-session curriculum over the course of about 9 months. If any of you were able to attend the Zoom summit that was in February, we had a speaker named Mark Elston present a workshop for the first part, and he works for the organization whose curriculum we're going to be using. And there is a video that's linked on the Presbytery website, and it gives a nice little introduction about why we're doing this. So I would recommend watching that video if you have a chance. There will be points as the design team works through this curriculum where the congregation will join, but the majority of the work is done by the design team. This curriculum requires meeting approximately monthly, but there will be some flexibility within that, and doing some small experiments and short bits of homework, things like interviewing a couple people from the congregation. Nothing major for homework, but just little bits. The curriculum will guide teams to clarify their unique sense of mission for you all as a church, to listen to the community members about needs. The design team will share learnings with other participating congregations at our learning cohort gatherings. There's going to be 5 of those over the course of a year. And by the end of the year, the cohort team and congregation will design a project in collaboration with people from your neighborhood for a new building use. The congregations that complete all the requirements will have the opportunity to apply for a $10,000 seed grant that partners with you to make changes to your building that will allow you to complete your project. We will then provide a coach that will walk alongside your congregation to implement this project over the course of the 2nd year. So it's really a 2-year commitment, 1 year to discern what you're going to do, and then the 2nd year to implement the thing that you design. And we provide support the whole time. Some potential project ideas that we've heard about include possibly upgrading a kitchen to a commercial kitchen so that A church can provide cooking lessons to the neighborhood or canning classes, converting space to be able to rent to a community group that aligns with your mission, making the building ADA accessible to allow new community groups to use it, converting space to provide a place for youth to hang out. Building housing is one of the other larger projects. You may have heard that Bethany is doing that. But the possibilities are endless, and we expect that every project will be as unique as the congregations that design them. And we're looking forward to hearing more ideas and how God can use buildings in new ways that support the flourishing of the communities and congregations. And it's important to know that we as a presbytery aren't going into this with specific ideas of what exactly you'll be doing. We do expect them like I said, every congregation will come up with something that is unique, that fits who you are exactly. The process does require a commitment from the whole congregation, and specifically the design team, because that team will carry out the majority of the commitment, but the congregation must support the work of this team and be willing to assist them as needed. That will look like sharing stories and answering questions, filling out some surveys, and trying out small experiments as you figure out new building use possibilities. If you decide to participate, we encourage you to make this the primary thing that you focus on and do for the next year. And that might mean stopping some things in order to make room. It might simply mean not taking on other new things. You don't have to stop things, but you're not taking on new things. And we do provide you with significant support in return. What the grant provides you with is curriculum, consultants, a coach, in addition to the $10,000 seed grant. Things that smaller congregations do not normally have access to because they're worth thousands of dollars. Our hope is that as our congregations align building use with mission, that your neighborhood will flourish. And that might also help your congregation to flourish in new ways. It's important that you go into this with an open and curious posture. Congregations already have lots of ideas about what they might want to do. But you have to go into this with an open mind, because the curriculum and process will guide your discernment as you listen to the Holy Spirit. And it's also important to know that this is not a church growth strategy. This will likely not increase your church membership or attendance, and that's not the goal. Congregational flourishing is measured by growth in your spiritual lives and connection to your neighborhood and what God is doing there, not by worship attendance or membership. So we've for many years, congregations measured their success by numbers. And we're measuring success differently, and actually the Lilly Endowment is encouraging us to measure success differently than numbers. And we would love for Emmanuel to participate in the first cohort. And you have already begun experimenting with using your building in new ways by renting to another congregation. And this would continue that work and be an intentional way to discern how the Holy Spirit is inviting you to steward your property in new ways beyond renting your space. So now I'm going to take questions. I've just given you a lot of information. And so I'm going to take some questions now, but then, as Alyssa said, I'll also be available in the fellowship time after if you think of questions later. As an introvert, I have to process, and then I have questions. So, yes?
Question from Kelly Rhodes, one of our members who's not here yet, but he wants to know what kind of commitment from the congregation person once or twice a month, etc. So essentially, what commitment from the congregation is required for this?
The congregation as a whole, the congregation has a smaller commitment. It's really the design team. So that team will be chosen, led by Alyssa, and that design team that will be 3 to 7 people. There's some flexibility with how many people. That team is doing the primary work, and they're going to be committed to meeting about monthly, whether that's working through the curriculum. On months you're not doing the curriculum, you'll probably be meeting with the learning cohort. But the congregation there will be like 2 or 3 points at which the design team pulls the congregation all together to ask questions and interview. So it's less of a regular commitment for the congregation, a larger commitment for the design team. Other questions?
Laura Lee and I were talking earlier about what you're designating as the design team and the makeup of the design team. And one of the questions that came up was, is there going to be any specific requirements of the people that are on the design team, any specific skills? Or is it going to be up to the congregation to choose those people who are on the design team other than the designated pastor and active elder?
The choosing of the people will be led by Alyssa with the support of the session. It'll be voted on by the session. And in terms, you said what was the commitment of the design, or no, skills. What are the skill sets? What I'm encouraging is that it be people who are open and curious about the Holy Spirit, that aren't coming in with a fixed mindset of this is the project we're going to do. It has to be people who are open to changing their minds and open to new possibilities, things that are outside the box of normal for this congregation. People who ask good questions, and also you don't have to all agree, but you do have to come to some consensus on a project. So it has to be people who can work well with others to come up with an idea. So those are kind of my guiding encouragements. Every church does. Every church has all kinds of projects, but you have to come in. You can have ideas. You just have to be open to new ideas. Are there other questions? Yes.
How does this, and this might be a longer answer. I'm going to speak up. Or Lee, you don't have to. I'll wait till she gets here. She already hears me.
It's easier on this.
How does this tie in, or does it tie into the Matthew 25 project?
It doesn't tie into the Matthew. I mean, there's overall themes that are similar, but there's no actual connection to it. It's not tied at all, because Matthew 25 is a denominational community or opportunity, and this is a Lilly endowment funded, which is not Presbyterian at all. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I'll be available after worship if you think of more questions, and I hope you do.